we're back. I am back. I have returned. Even though it's only been since, like, what, Sunday? Sunday? Sounds about right. Oh well, we're back. Atelier. I'm tired. That's probably apparent by the title. Yes, I am very tired. I have been up since 6:20. It is now 10:30. So yeah, it's fine. Where were we last time? I actually have to remember now. Oh, that's right. We were on quest 3. Yeah, Witch's Cell, Beast Statue, Healing Aroma, Quantity over Quality. If I recall, this one was just like a random book they found at the church, or not the church, the castle. And they insisted that we make everything that was in there. So that's what we're doing. I think we've already made the beast statue. We've already made a couple of beast statues. Right? Right, various beast statues. Oh, kind of. We've kind of made multiple beast statues. Yeah, this part's actually probably going to be the hardest. Because, bird statue does require better stuff. Like, much better stuff. I still don't even know exactly how the alchemy system works and how you get the bars up, but basically we need to get the bars up. Which, you know, it is what it is. We can make it work. As for the Witch's Salve, I haven't tried making it yet. Oh, Curse and Poison. Same deal. It's basically just getting us to use better quality stuff to get better traits. We beat Puni. So don't get oh. Guys, we haven't done that one yet. There's that one we could probably just do right away. Okay, that one we cannot just do right away. We have to sleep first. Hold on. Oh, every time I click, it closes the game. Of course it does. I also have to remember to put my controller like a little bit further away than I normally do. Simply because going through the footage, it does seem to pick up when I vigorously click the controller. Hold on. Let me just bother somebody right quick. Oh, software update. Of course there is. Yes, you can sleep but we cannot. That's probably fine. Okay, I guess he's asleep. First time for everything, I suppose. Why do I keep doing this one? I have to remember the controls every single time I get here. Oh, this is more interesting to do right away.
Tanomu, 受け取ってほしい。そうでないと私の気が済まない。
そんなダメです。指輪なんて絶対に受け取れません。指輪って、もしかしてプロポーズとか？うわーって覗き見してちゃダメだよ。ティファナさん嫌がってるし、助けなきゃ。いや。やめてください。
ん？君は？ロ
ロナちゃん、いいところに来てくれたわ。無理やりっていうのは良くないです。ティファナさんも困ってるし。
確かに。だが何も渡さないわけにもいくまい。財布を忘れたのは私の落ち度だ。 店主が気にする必要はない。
だからってそんな高価な指輪お受け取りできません。お金はある時で結構ですから。
そうですよ、指輪なんて。財
心遣いは嬉しいが、品を渡して代金を受け取らずでは商売は成り立つまい。さあ。
何度言われましてもお値段以上のものは受け取れませ
布？なんかすごく恥ずかしい勘違いをしてたような。だったらその商品は返してまた今度来ればいいんじゃ。
そうしたいのは山々だが、すでに口をつけてしまったからな。腹の中のものを返すわけにはいかんだろう。
だったらそうだ、今日のところは私が立て替えておきます。
ん。でもそれじゃあロロナちゃんが。
大丈夫ですよ、今日は多めに持ってきたし。はい、これで。
Oh, come on. I obviously don't have enough cash.
うん、ありがとう。じゃなくて根本的な解決になってないんじゃないかって。
うん。ではこの指輪は君に渡せばいいのだな。
違いますよ。なんでそうなるんですか？
私はここの店主に借りがあった。今は君に借りがある。
確かに間違ってないような。そういうことじゃなくて。
店だけでなく通りがかりの少女にまで迷惑をかけたとあっては末代までの恥。さあ、何も言わずに受け取ってくれ。
いや、そんな。さよ
ん？待て、逃がさんぞ。
なんかロロナちゃんに悪いことしちゃったわね。それにしてもあのお客さんどこかで見たような気がするんだけど。
What would they have done if I didn't have the extra 200? I mean, I know she said she had the extra 200, but... Well, I guess the event probably just wouldn't appear if we didn't have the cash. That's fine. It is what it is. Is there anything in particular we need right now? To carry specifically? Or to gather? Okay, we're actually fine in this department.
何を作ろうかな。
None of this stuff really matters at the moment. Special meat? Oh, that's right. Tink. Witch's salve, here we go. Poison, liquid.
これなら簡単。
I guess 3 is kind of like the minimum we need.
どれを使おう。
So yeah. Oh, I guess those count as poisonous. Manager root, no surprise there. How many of these do I get? I mean, yeah, I guess we'll just... Is there a way to get me all the way to the bar? Unless I get to the bar, I think it's not going to help. Is the bar based on quality? Where's the sword? Sword... Quality... Not exactly. Trait scroll... Act... Very slow deterioration rate. Yeah, what's the difference here? I don't think the trait has anything to do with it, right? Does
何を作ろう
the actual tutorial thing have a way that we're supposed to figure that out? Let's see, library, help, synthesis. Decoration, equipment, oh, it's item types. Next, choose how many items. Restore a broken item. Apply traits. Okay, so the effects can vary based on the type and quality. So trying to find different combinations. Oh, you can carry over up to 5 traits. Interesting. Okay. Let's try it
何
again.
を作ろうかなこれなら簡単簡単どれを使おう
Obviously, mushrooms seem to be the key for this one.
どれを使おう
Okay, it just did not matter. Okay.
どれを使おう
Is there a way to get to the line? Just barely, maybe? So yeah, why do these all have different amounts? I mean, we do need to make some normal ones, I guess, so I guess that's probably good enough
ど
for
れを
now.
使おう新しい効果ができそれじゃできたどの特性をつけようかな
We have 10. So what is that? A 4 and a 6? That's, yeah. That looks about right. Something good to know. Pesticide. Poisonous. Is it pesticide as in it's good poison, or like how would that deteriorate?
何を作ろうかな
Okay, so I got poisonous. That will kill you softly. Interesting, alright. I do wish we made more of these when we were there, but it's fine. We do kind of know what we're looking for, at least. I guess it actually doesn't hurt to turn in what we can now.
依頼の方は順調にす
Come on.
達成できている
Yep. Gathering, combat. Oh, I remember I sold things at the very beginning of the term. During which Puniki.
では
Okay. Definitely cute bombs. What else? Training walk would be nice, but we haven't finished the main quest yet. That's fine. I don't need any of these like amazingly quickly.
ラインが揃ったようだなでは報酬を渡そうでは引き続き他の仕事も頑張ってく
Okay, well, we might as well turn to the stuff we
れ依
have.
頼の品を持ってきた
I don't think I really need any of these for anything. That's it? Type of items, quality. I mean, I guess it cares about quality. I mean, as long as I get to 10 stars, I don't think it really matters.
では期限の日まで大切に預からせてもらう
Oh, I guess that's enough. I guess you have to turn in literally any amount.
ラインが揃ったようだな
Training walk.
では引き続き他の仕事も頑張ってくれ
Wait, that's a weapon, isn't it? Now that I actually think about it. Yeah, let me see. Equipment, this guy. there you go, training one. -5 speed. He doesn't need speed. Where did I get this? Silky outfit? Somebody else? Nope, no items. There's the ring that I keep forgetting. Wait, isn't this what she wears? Again, where did I get this? 'Cause I don't think I made it. Guts. Yeah, resist fire. I mean, I don't think I'd complain about extra defense. We'll go with it for now. Not you. Just gonna shuffle things around as always. Alright, I think we're good to go. Ruins. Okay, so what have we not got? The wall. I'm going to assume we can deal with this. Oh gosh, I completely forgot what this all looked like. Oh, this is all like dead animal parts, isn't it? I actually needed these. Or in the bee statue. Can I one-shot you? I'm actually curious. There we go.
気づいてないわね。こっちから行くわよ。
Oh yeah, these are like way too easy now.
私の手にかかればこんなもんよ。
It's gonna be a long time before we level up again. Another... oh, no. Oh yeah, university has started up again. I guess I forgot to mention. It's just one of those things where I will have significantly less time for, well, everything. Especially since I'm taking a lot of really intensive classes. Really challenging ones, to say the least. The high level courses. Which I can still, as you can see today, I can still seem to get these out even after being at school literally the entire day. Oh wait, we've already been here. Oh, I guess we gotta go up. That's fine. Okay. So yeah, which first day of classes is always kind of mundane. Nothing really happens, with the exception of like one class where we actually did get into some content. Other professors are like, alright, we went through the syllabus, you guys can go home now. Which was really nice, but it doesn't last very long. I already have homework for one of the... There are a lot of textbooks I have to get my hands on, as the usual. But yeah, the one that we did get to some bound content for was, what was it, machine learning? Introduction to machine learning? That one? It was like, the very basics of what, obviously what we would be covering throughout the course of the class. But it's always kind of funny when you think about how not recent machine learning actually is. When you think about it. Like, they were making that stuff, the algorithms for that stuff, trying to make it all work since like what, the 1950s? I think one of the first instances where they were trying to teach a computer quote unquote, how to play checkers. I don't know if it was good, but I assume they knew how to play. Not that the rules are particularly hard. I mean, like a 5-year-old can learn checkers and, you know, not completely catch themselves in a stalemate. Because I remember back in the first training, chess bots, not first training per se, but they were attempting a different method of training the chess bots, where instead of feeding them a bunch of games, you know, a bunch of already played through games and letting it deal with that, they instead just they taught it the rules and they gave it, you know, the board and whatnot, and just told it to play. So it just played itself over and over and over again, just non-stop.
何か落ちてる。わあ、すごいもの拾っちゃった。
Like I said. But yeah, so they taught it the rules, but they didn't really teach it anything else really. They just had it run thousands and thousands of chess games, and obviously at the beginning, if you just take a 5-year-old, teach them the rules of chess, they're not really going to get anywhere. They're going to... Well, we're operating under the assumption that the computer won't break the rules, since, well, it is a computer. So, you know, following the rules, it just ended itself in stalemate after stalemate after stalemate. And, you know, after each attempt, it's like, dang, we're stalemated now. And, you know, try something differently. And after thousands and thousands of simulations, running just chess over and over again, playing, you know, all those games against its realm, it actually started winning games. Or, well, you know, it managed to get, you know, either white or black to actually start winning games. Which is kind of interesting to think about. Like, imagine if, you know, humans could just play thousands and thousands of games over the course of a couple of days and just become an expert, which obviously wasn't an expert for a while, I would imagine. It's been a while since I've watched the documentary. But yeah, towards the end of its, you know, learning process, they had to go up against, you know, the current best chess player or whatever they call them. And it won. Yeah, it won like the best of like 9 games or something like that. I don't remember the exact amount. So yeah, it's always interesting how these kind of learning models tend to evolve. Of course, now they're a lot more sophisticated than that. I'm not sure what a chess bot would look like right now. I'm sure it's very complicated. I know it sounds very simple, but it's very complicated how these things work. And if I had to kind of like pinpoint the type of learning model it was, in the introduction, they brought up 3 different methodologies of actually training a system. And actually, I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, like their exact names. I remember the concepts themselves, but I'm just going to Google it to make my life easier. Learning models. Okay. Okay, there we go. It's supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. So they are kind of self-explanatory. Supervised being you give it not necessarily the information. Obviously, in all of them, you have to give it a data set to work with, but a machine can only make guesses. If it doesn't know the exact function, so to speak, of what it's trying to solve, it's not going to actually reach that conclusion, except by pure chance. So what supervised learning kind of aims to achieve is that, oh gosh. Is that the machine likes to put, like, labels on things, so to speak, to kind of help it understand the data better. So the key to supervised learning is that you provide the attributes of, you know, each entity in your data set. So for example, if you're trying to get the machine to predict whether a person is poisoned, for example. We just made poison, so I guess it's a fitting example, kind of. You would, for each entity of your dataset, include all of its attributes, so the things that the relevant things that describe the entity. So for example, if your dataset is, you know, obviously people for being poisoned, and you wanted to provide the attributes, you would include, say, things that might matter. Oh, what color is the person's face? You know, because a certain symptom of being poisoned sometimes is your complexity changes. Another could be, I don't know, whether or not the person is conscious or not. That can usually be a determiner of whether they've been poisoned. I don't know, what's another random one? Pain? A lot of these are kind of yes or no, but I'm sure if you get not enough of them, but the system could probably find the patterns, I would hope. What else? I guess temperature, body temperature. Generally when your body's dealing with poison, I imagine it would be kicking into overdrive, being like, what the heck is going on, and trying to get it out. So you take all these attributes, you know, attach them to the person that they belong to in your dataset. Give me a second. Okay, so yeah, so you would attach them to the person in your dataset, and in addition, you would tell the computer, the thing you're trying to train, you would tell it whether they were poisoned or not. So now the system knows what to look for, so to speak, what qualities, what attributes to look at specifically. And then it knows what its correlation is with being poisoned. Oh, now I'm feathering. So with that, over, you know, any amount of tests, you just hope that it can find the pattern that leads to the correct conclusion, aka poisoned or not poisoned. Yeah, poisoned or not poisoned, to some level of accuracy. So the computer would basically figure out, okay, this person is, their complexion is deathly pale, for example. That would be a really bad way to name the attribute, but since we don't have a good example to work with, this is just what we have to do. I would say, okay, this person had a really pale complexion and was poisoned. So then it's like, okay, maybe that's one attribute. And say it looks across all of the people in the not poisoned category, and looks, and it sees, okay, all these people in the non-poisoned category, their complexion is normal. So then, you know, obviously in its decision making, it determines, okay, you know, A plus B equals C, basically. And then if you introduce into the dataset something that, say, a person with a deathly pale complexion that isn't poisoned, well, it's probably going to be confused. Which, is, you know, it's just kind of how it works sometimes. We're not all like completely easy to predict sometimes. So yeah, so that's the basic of supervised learning for machines. The other one, well, the next one, unsupervised, is where you tell it basically nothing. Like, obviously it has its dataset, you gave it the dataset, but you don't provide it the attributes. Not the attributes, no, well, I think you still provide the attributes, but you don't provide the conclusion for each of those examples, so to speak. So you put the person in the dataset along with, you know, oh, this person has this, this, and this, but you don't say if it was poisoned or not. So that the machine just kind of has to the machine knows obviously that a person is either going to be poisoned or not poisoned, so it just has to kind of figure out by clustering these various things together. Oh wait, cutscene.
失礼する。
お客さんかな。はーい。ああ、この間の。
やっと見つけた。これでようやく先日立て替えてもらった金を返すことができる。
ダメですよ。指輪なんて絶対受け取りませんから。
大丈夫だ。今日はちゃんと財布を持ってきた。あの時は私も頭に血が上っていてな。本当にすまなかった。この通りだ。
そういうことでしたら。
バニー。
怖くて変な人かと思ったけど、実はまともな人なのかも。
ところで、このアトリエは君が？
はい、そうです。師匠に無理やり押し付けられちゃって。
そうか。話には聞いていたが、君のような少女がな。
あれ、黙り込んじゃった。なんか怒らせちゃった。
いか、自己紹介がまだだったな。私はジオ。楽隠居の身でたまに街をブラブラしている。
あ、私はロロナです。ジオさん。ジオさん？
ん？私の名前がどうかしたかね？
略しようがない。
略す？今後は客として利用させてもらうことになると思う。では。
はい、よろしくお願いします。あれ、ジオさん、このアトリエのこと知ってた？なんでだろう。師匠の知り合いなのかな。
That's right, I never got my book. Heat bombs. Ice bomb. Battle bomb. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, most of this stuff isn't exactly going to help me
何を作ろうか
synthesize
な。
this. Oh, that's why it's a cute bomb. So yeah, back to back to my impromptu lecture. Unsupervised learning. Yeah, you don't tell them the conclusion, and it's just supposed to kind of figure it out, so to speak. So generally speaking, if there is a relationship between some attribute and some conclusion, it's going to notice that. It's going to notice that that relationship as things kind of cluster together, things of similar qualities, and it basically attempts to reach the conclusion that you want with, you know, as little input from you as possible. So yeah,
何を作ろう
that's kind of the basics of supervised and unsupervised. There's also one called semi-supervised, which he hasn't gone over yet, which is kind of the more common approach, the more realistic approach, so to speak. Where am I going? Too bad. But yeah, then the third one is reinforcement learning, which does sound kind of self-explanatory, and it kind of is. Basically, you have, you know, the machine, so to speak. The machine basically performs unsupervised learning at the beginning. It tries to, you know, take the data set you've given it, figure something out, and spits out the result. It has no idea if the result is accurate or not, but it just gives you the result that it came up with. And from there, after a certain number of tests, I don't know exactly how many or if it even matters, but you basically tell it, well, it uses the word reward. So you reward it either saying your predictions were correct or they were incorrect. Usually not that basic, you usually assign it some kind of weight, some kind of percent, it looks like. Or it's like, oh yeah, you were like 30% correct. So, and given that feedback, it runs it again, basically. So, like, the example for this one, we're not poisoning anybody this time, but... So say you are having a conversation with a particular person. This person has a very particular personality. They think about things a very specific way. Yeah, but when you first talk to this person, you're not entirely sure what sets them off and what doesn't. So say in your first conversation you say something that they don't like. And they're like, oh, I don't know, what's something funny? I don't know. Soy milk tastes terrible. Don't ask why that came to mind. So you just offhandedly say for whatever reason, oh yeah, soy milk tastes terrible, and this person just gets absolutely offended by it and just yells at you and is just particularly unhappy. So in this scenario, you are the machine. They're not called the machine, I just forgot what the actual placeholder name was, but... So it's like, okay. You did your thing, you provided the output given your data, which is almost nothing, and you got feedback. You got your reward, which was they yelled at you in the face. So from there, given that, you are going to adjust how you say it to this person. So maybe next time you'll be like, you know what, soy milk tastes okay. And we'll just say, for example, that they still get offended by that. And instead of getting yelled at in the face, you get a sting eye and a grunt. That's your reward. So then, you know, now you've had a little bit more input. Normally, from the sounds of it, the dataset isn't going to be exactly like, you know, do exactly one thing, get exactly the feedback, etc., etc. Normally, it'll end up running significantly more tests. But it's just an example, so presumably, given enough time, you're going to stop making this person angry. And you're just going to be like, whether you believe it or not, it's like, you know what? Soy milk, it tastes good. And they're going to be really happy with that. So yeah, so that was kind of not really as far as we've got, but the other one does rely kind of on a diagram to describe, which I guess I can just kind of pull out the diagram. I have my notebook like right next to me. I started, I might as well continue, right? Where did I put it? Well, I put it after the algorithms. Hold on real quick. Okay. Okay. It's a... What is this? Okay. Trying to understand my own notes here. So it looks like a we started discussing a little bit further into supervised. So this is like my second time reading it. Okay. Okay, so this is gonna start sounding very mathematical. So for supervised learning, you're given some kind of training example. Oh, hello person. Hello viewer. I can see you. Where I'm having a brief lecture on... Hello there. Hello there, Terra Striker. Would you like to listen to my lecture on machine learning? The basics of machine learning. Because that's what I learned in class today, so I'm just reciting my notes. If not, you can just watch the game in the background, I guess. So yes. Honestly, since you're here, I might as well just go over a review of what I talked about earlier. Oh gosh, there's so many things. Okay. Okay, there's a cutscene.
イクセ君イクセ君、そろそろ休憩しない？
休憩ってまだ来たばっかじゃないか。
そうなんだけど、私お弁当作ってきたの。早く食べないと傷んじゃうし。
弁当ってお前な、ピクニックに来たわけじゃないだろ。
What is this game about? It's about alchemy. So this girl on the left here.
わかってるけど、でもたまにはいいかなって。
So basically, how do I summarize this in the quickest way possible? Okay, so there's the Atelier, which is like their workshop, right? It was owned by her teacher, a person that dealt with a lot of stuff. So basically alchemy is like creating things from other things, put a lot of resources together, put them in a pot, stir the pot, something entirely new comes out. Common items we make are like bombs. It's kind of ironic in a way. So basically, at the very beginning, the castle sends a knight over to tell them that, oh hey, we're gonna shut your shop down. Obviously she didn't like this, so she went over and they're like, okay, we're not shutting it down right away. We're going to give you assignments to make stuff for us in exchange for us not closing you down. So it's a in-game 3-year process of completing these tasks for the kingdom to, you know, make all this stuff to prevent the workshop from closing down. And, you know, just as an extra slap in the face, her teacher was like, you know what, I'm retiring, you deal with it. It just kind of makes her the master of the workshop and just tells her to, you know, solve the problems. Welcome, viewers. Yeah, it's a really cute game. There are a lot of little cutscenes like this, a lot of interactions between all the characters. I don't even know how many characters there are. We're only like 3 assignments in, and I think there were like 12 or 13. Something like that. So yeah, played through the whole game eventually, but while we're just kind of doing some of the more mundane stuff, I'm just like, I'm giving lectures of stuff, random stuff that I just learn in class. Because, you know, I don't know how old anybody in here is, but university has started back up. So I have a lot of classes that I'm dealing with. And you know, since I'm here, and more often than not, the game has a lot of downtime where you're just kind of either running around or making stuff with alchemy. So I just give like little lecture, basically recite the lectures as best I can given my notes. So currently right now it's Introduction to Machine Learning because that's the only class that has actually begun content at all. So yeah, I'll do a basic summary for everybody that has just joined after this cutscene.
まあいいか。食うなら早く食おうぜ。
ちょっと待っててね。
何を大声出してんだよ。
お弁当忘れてきちゃった。
はあ？ほんと抜けてるなお前は。
ちゃんと入れたと思ったのに。お弁
ああ、泣くな泣くな。うん、しょうがないな。ちょっと待ってろ。
当。待ってろって。イクセ君、どこ行くの？
いいから、そこでおとなしく待ってろよ。
Oh yeah, this kid is a chef. I guess it's probably worth
よ
mentioning.
お待たせ。
あ、帰ってきた。どこ行ってたの？
これを作ってきたんだよ。ほれ。
ああ、お料理だ。これどうしたの？
だから作ってきたんだよ。そこら辺の材料で。幸いフライパンもあったしな。ほら、食ってみろよ。
いただきます。おいしい。
ん？そうか。うまいのか。
すっごくおいしい。特にこのお肉。これ何のお肉なの？
そりゃあお前、この辺で取れる肉って言ったらなんだハンバーニャ。ああ、いや、なんでもない。喜んでくれて何よりだ。
イクセ君は食べないの？
なあ、俺はほら、味見でいっぱい食ったからさ。
なんで視線をそらすの？ねえイクセ君、このお肉。
もう満腹か。じゃあ作業に戻るか。いっぱい取るぞ。
ちょっと、これ何のお肉なの？イクセ君ってば。
You know, the nice things of the wilds. But yeah, I need to collect these cobalt berries to kind of make the current assignment stuff.
気づいてないわね。
But yeah, back to my lecture. the random lecture. I guess as a review for those of you that have just joined. Majority of you who have subsequently just left. There were three primary ways of primary schemes for learning models that we're going to discuss most at the beginning. There's supervised, there's unsupervised, and then there's... I just had it up here. Reinforcement learning. RL. Reinforcement learning. Supervised is kind of what it sounds like. Obviously you have your dataset. The dataset is what the machine uses to make decisions. So with supervised learning, for each entity in your dataset, you provide the attributes of that entity. So for example, well, when I was previously explaining this, I used the example of somebody getting poisoned, but that seems like a bit of a bad example now that I'm actually having listeners. So I think the example we got in the slides was you're trying to figure out, say, if a person has some disease. You know, we'll just call it disease X for whatever reason. And this disease has a certain number of certain symptoms associated with it, but the computer doesn't know that. But what you do instead is you have all of your people, and say you have person A. Person A that you add to the dataset has, say, blood pressure of some amount. They have a heart rate of some amount. They have an age. Age can usually affect your immune system. Their body temperature. So, for example, if they have a fever, and you take all these attributes, assign it to that entity that you insert into your dataset, and in addition, you tell the system, okay, this person has disease X. So a person with these attributes has disease X. Put that in a dataset, and now the machine can figure out the relationship between, those particular attributes and the disease. So say, for example, increased body temperature is one of the primary symptoms of disease X. The system will see among all the people that have disease X, given your dataset, it'll be like, oh, okay, I see. Everybody that above certain range of body temperature has the disease. Meanwhile, everybody in the other set that doesn't have it, their body temperature is lower. So it draws conclusions like that, and given a new person of which their condition is unknown, it could hopefully make a good guess as to whether or not this person has disease X. That's supervised learning. You give it the attributes, and for each entity in the set, you tell it, yes, this person has the thing, this person doesn't have the thing, etc. So that's supervised. Unsupervised, you have the same dataset. Of course, everything has its attributes as per normal. Blood pressure, age, etc. However, instead this time, you don't tell the machine whether each entity in the set has disease X. You just don't tell it at all. It has no idea. All it knows is, each entity in the set, what are its attributes, and you know that it can exist as a state of either it has disease X or doesn't have disease X. And it's just supposed to figure it out. So what it basically has to do is something called clustering. I don't have the formal definition of it yet. By the way, if you have any questions, do ask. There's a good chance I won't be able to answer, considering I am still in the process of learning and the lecture's literally just started. So unsupervised, it basically clusters similar entities with similar attributes together and takes a guess, one way or the other. It just kind of hopes that one of these clusters, or if there are multiple clusters, it just basically tries to guess which cluster has the people that have disease X. And you're just trying to get it as close as possible that way, with as little intervention from humans as possible. Which is significantly more challenging. It has a lot higher error rate, for obvious reasons, because, well, it doesn't know anything. So can these types of machine learning work to train any type of AI machine? Okay, so I think it's operating under the assumption that you're designing the machine specifically to teach it to make decisions. So it's kind of like, if you have the machine that has the capacity of running this dataset and evaluating it, then you would basically use one of these methods. Which, there's still one I haven't gotten to, and there's like a secret, like, fourth option, which is semi-supervised, which is kind of the more realistic one, where it's like a combination of supervised and unsupervised. Because obviously, if you leave something unsupervised for too long, obviously there's a possibility it's just going to run in circles over and over again. So you do want to give it some feedback, which leads to the third one, which is reinforcement learning, which is fairly self-explanatory in the sense that it's very similar to the way that humans learn, like, you know, how children learn. So what reinforcement learning does is you have the agent, which is the machine in this particular case, and then you have the supervisor. I don't think it's actually called that, but I'm just calling it that for now. So what each entity hopes to do is that the machine is fed the dataset. It's fed the dataset, and it's given some test values in effectively an unsupervised manner. So it starts out completely unsupervised. After some number of tests, it starts making decisions. It sends those decisions back to its supervisor, and after a certain amount, the supervisor will decide, okay, it rewards the agent. And now reward here is kind of an interesting word, but basically just look at it as feedback. It provides system feedback. Some, like, say it gives it some percentage of how correct it was. And it takes that and it attempts to, during the next round of tests, do better. So for example, this is the example I gave before you arrived, but imagine you are a person and you're talking to another person, and this person has a very particular personality. They think things a very particular way, and this is your first conversation. You don't know how to deal with them just yet, and you say something. The example I used was you just offhandedly said, "You know, I hate soy milk," and this person gets ridiculously offended by your statement, and they yell at your face. Let's just say they slapped you as well. So they provided you a reward. Again, the word reward, very interesting to use here. I don't know why they use it, but that is your reward. So during the next set of tests, during your next conversation with this person, you're like, okay, that didn't work last time. So this time, let me change what I'm going to say, and you say, okay, you know what, soy milk is just okay. And let's just say, for example, this person that you were talking to, they still get offended by that. And they're like, instead of like slapping you in the face and yelling at you, they give you the stink eye. They give you a stink eye and like a grunt. So during your next round, you're just going to you've learned by this point through reinforcement that, okay, this person really likes soy milk, so I'm just going to tell them what they want and not get slapped, yelled at, or given a stink eye. And you'll just say, okay, fine, soy milk is good. And now they're happy, and you have succeeded in the learning process in achieving the result, the desired result. Very abstract example, but that's kind of how reinforced learning works in humans. Basically, a majority of our life is they use that to train certain ChatGPT models, right? Yes, I believe so. I think like even just normal people can go to ChatGPT, ask it for something, and it'll give you some kind of response, and you can tell ChatGPT, no, that's incorrect. And ChatGPT will do stuff on the back end. So ChatGPT is very complicated, but at its most basic form, it's a neural network. So basically, it's a network of things and connections, so to speak. And as far as ChatGPT is concerned, its job its job, it's basically to fill in the blanks. It's basically a word predictor. So given its entire set of data that it has, and given, you know, the question that you're asking it, it basically tries to find the next most likely word that would, you know, create the desired answer. So this was actually a test one of my old professors did on ChatGPT, where took ChatGPT and he asked it, okay, why am I such a good professor? Obviously, ChatGPT has to give you an answer. It's designed to, but it doesn't know who the professor is. So it just runs through its data, and it tries to predict the next best word that would, you know, meet, you know, what you're asking for. So it'll just be like, oh, you know, you are a great professor because you engage your students and blah blah blah. It just becomes very generic after a point because it doesn't have data on it. So if you wanted to get a better result, you'd have to tell it, hey, I am this professor that does yada yada yada, and that'll send in, well, okay, so as a massive simplification, it sends a ripple through its connections and adjusts weights between them. And again, in hopes of, in the next time it's asked that question, creating a better, predicting a more correct set of words. That's kind of why whenever you see ChatGPT working, like if you ask it something that's really long, it's actually predicting the words in real time, so it doesn't actually show you its entire response all at once. You kind of see it like doing like paragraphs at a time because it's in the process of predicting what the next word would be given its data. So, yeah, so at its very core, it's basically just trying to predict the next word in the sentence for what you're trying to do. So sometimes it comes if it's a topic that has a lot of generally standardized knowledge to. For example, like, I don't know, words in the dictionary. All of those dictionaries tend to agree with each other for the most part in a lot of ways, so it's not going to have any trouble looking through its data and just between all of these, they're all about the same, just throw one of them there and it's usually correct. Versus things that it has very little data on, it's just going to, you know, effectively guess, because that's all it can do. All it can do is guess. And sometimes that leads you to the the strangest places possible. Like especially when you look into when you ask it a lot of things that uses terminology it's not familiar with, or like terminology that not many people would use, then it'll look at that term and it'll be like, okay, well, what's the first thing I can find that uses this term, no matter what it is. You could be saying like, okay, I don't know, what's a common phrase? Say if there's like a clustering. That was the example we used for the machine learning problem of unsupervised. If you say, okay, what is clustering? ChatGPT isn't exactly sure whether you're referring to clustering in the context of machine learning algorithms or in the context of, you know, people, like physically clustering. So it's literally just going to give you the most common result, which is more than likely just the definition of people clustering. So that's why ChatGPT is not dangerous in the sense where it's too smart, but dangerous in the sense where it's too dumb. It's really kind of funny in a way. Which, again, all of that is massive, massive oversimplification of ChatGPT, because have you seen Doug's video on making ChatGPT say dumb things by using reinforcement? You know, I wouldn't be surprised with that. I've seen people do it before, like in person, so I assume that video would probably follow a fairly similar
作ろうかな。
path. Like, I've even seen, like, not even just ChatGPT, but like Twitch bots. People training like Twitch bots to say stupid stuff. Like, basically, like, brainwashing the machines. Because they literally just take what you give them. They take exactly what you give them. They have no way of knowing otherwise. Which is very similar to humans in a lot of ways.
これなら簡単簡単。
If you've gone your whole
どれ
life
を使おう。
being told that, I don't know, like the earth is flat or something, that is like, in your mind, it has to be true because that's what you've been told. And then, say you go up into space and you confirm with your own eyes, it's like, oh wait, it might not be. And then, one, your mind is blown, and two, if you hadn't had that experience, then you would have never known for sure that what you had been reinforced with growing up was, you know, not accurate.
どれを使おう。
So
これでいいよね。
we like to make machines as close to humans as possible, but in the ways that they learn, they're almost pretty similar. My bus driver a couple of years ago was a flat earther.
それじゃあ、できた。
I mean,
どの特性を
it's
つ
something
けよ
that
う
a
か
majority of
な。
us will never be able to confirm in our own lifetimes. We can see the theories all we want, but if you're not really a math person, then all of that theory is, well, it's literally just math. But obviously I haven't seen the Earth from the outside, but
何を作ろうかな。
you know, given my profession, I do have a tendency to take the math seriously. Which, I've never met one in person. Granted, I go to a school that's heavy on science, so I guess it would be kind of hard.
どれを使おう。
Hard to find a person like that. Which, you know, it's pretty harmless. Of all the things to be like,
どれを使おう。
a lot of all the hills to die on, that one's fairly harmless, unfortunately.
どれを使おう。
Because it gives us something to laugh about.
新しい効果ができそうだよ。それじゃあ調合するよ。できた。
Oh wait, did I make... Oh, I literally did make pie.
どの特性をつけようかな。
Living. Large enough items with a champagne. Ah, okay. Yes, I've completely ignored the game for a second, but... well, more than a second. Okay.
何を作ろうかな。
Which, those were the three basic ways of machine learning algorithms that got completely off track. We did get a little bit into the notes on supervised learning, which, before I do that, something interesting that we did go over is just out of curiosity, how old do you think machine learning technology is?
これなら簡単簡単。何を作ろうかな。これなら簡単簡単。
Like, if you had to just pick a year, what would you say? Like, these machine learning algorithms started popping up in maybe 50 years ago. I have to do math in my head. That's not far off. It was, the first major ones were in the 1950s. The 1950s was kind of when
どれを
the
使おう。
first major machine learning algorithms started popping up. The first one of note is a checkers
どれを使おう。
machine. Oh yeah, so this stuff is really old. It's almost as old as computation itself when you think about it, because when you have something like the computer first starting to come into theory, and you're actually starting to make them, and you see
どれを
the
使おう
potential. You know, one of the first things that comes to mind when you have a computer is like, okay, how can I automate this? How can I make this particular task easier, or how
こ
can
れ
I
でいいよね
manage this particular kind of data faster?
それじゃ
So
あ重宝するよ
even back when computers were the size of an entire room, they were already considering
どの特性を
what
つけ
can
よ
we
う
use
か
these
な
computers for?
レベルアップ
So yeah, so there was the checkers machine, and you know, as we can see, it's been developing a lot up in recent years, all the way from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It just kept going, kept growing. My professor for this one, what was it? Yeah, he was writing a thesis for machine learning back in like the 80s or something like that. So a lot of the stuff has been around for
何を
quite a
作ろう
bit,
か
but
な
just like with a lot of things, like AI especially, a lot of it just was theory because we simply lacked a machine powerful enough to actually handle all of the computation until, you know, more recent years where computers just got absolutely crazy.
こ
Absolutely
れなら
busted.
簡単簡単どれを使おう
But yeah, which I've already explained this, but it's fine. It's the I watched a part of a documentary at one point, which was going over chess machines, because I
ど
think
れを使おう
it had gone over how, like, initially
どれ
how
を
you would
使お
train
う
a chess bot
新しいそれじゃ
was,
重
well,
宝する
you
よ
would feed it games, basically.
ど
You
の
would feed it
特性を
games,
つけ
all
よ
of
う
the
かな
moves and the result. And somebody thought it would be a good idea to basically, instead of doing that, you take the machine, like blank slate,
何を
and
作ろうか
you
な
teach it the rules of chess. All you do is teach it the rules, what all the pieces are, how to win, and you don't tell it anything else. And you just make it play games. So the machine would just play game after game against itself.
これなら簡単簡単
Obviously, within the first several
何を作ろうかな
games that it would have,
これなら簡単簡単
it would just land in stalemate because it doesn't know how to win. It doesn't even know how to lose properly.
ど
So,
れを使おう
but after, you know, hundreds, thousands of iterations of just playing the game over and over again, hitting the end of a game, seeing the result, learning, just after, you know, like I said, thousands of games, eventually it started winning. It started being able to make, you know, either white or black start winning. And then from there, it's like, okay, if we have white, a state where white can win, how do we have black stop white from winning? AKA, how does black win? And then it just kept going down that rabbit hole, so to speak. Just learning and improving over and over again until eventually it got really darn good at chess. And they pitted up against the greatest chess player of the time, and I think in like a best of 9 it won 5-4. So this stuff is crazy. And that machine's pretty old by now.
とそろそろお城の仕事の期限だ忘れないうちに準備しておかないと
Can quantum supercomputers still use machine learning, or do they have other methods of learning?
失礼する
Oh, hold on.
依頼の記事
あ
その割には催促にこら
違うんです
ハト
Oh, hold on, cutscene, give me a sec.
はい可愛かったからまた会いたいなって思ってて
あのハトは私が個人で飼育しているものだ気に入ったのなら今度は連れてこよう
本当ですかありがとうございます
嫌われているわけではないようだなハトイカというのは複雑な気分だな
so to answer your question, for one, quantum supercomputing is like way out of my field. I am definitely much more in just generic computing, which quantum computing on its own is it's a whole mess. And even now, quantum computing is still heavily theoretical. They're still not entirely sure exactly how much you can do with it, or like
何を作ろうかな。
how to make a lot of things work. Because, well, if there's anything that's just always the case with quantum mechanics, is that literally nothing makes sense. So, yes, I don't know how, one, how a quantum supercomputer works, or how it would learn. However, if a quantum supercomputer could emulate a regular computer, you know, just a standard computer, then it should have no problem running a machine learning algorithm, because the algorithm isn't really coupled to a particular like schema of the device. You know, if a device can run you like going into physics of quantum computing because of the real life potential of them. Yes, the potential is very high. The potential is very high. But like if a quantum computer, which is kind of theorized to be the kind of next step up from our standard kind of silicon, I forgot what they're called. Those things. The things that make up the chips. If it's meant to be the successor, then it stands to reason that it should be able to do everything that... Oh, transistors, that's what they are. A standard silicon transistor computer. If it stands to reason that it should be able to do everything that our computers right now can do. So if it can do that, then I think as a bare minimum it should be able to also run generic algorithms for machine learning. Because the thing with quantum computing, I think it's a lot to one, increase performance, and basically hit computation that isn't physically possible yet.
これなら簡単簡単。
So, short answer, probably. Oh, not enough NP.
何を作ろうかな。
So, back when I was taking digital logic,
どれくらい休もう。
we had a project of studying alternate methods of computing.
おやすみなさい。
Quantum computing was one of them. But instead, I did DNA computing, which is, instead of handling things in a binary sense of ones and zeros as computers do, you represent data
何を作ろうかな。
in terms of the nucleotides of DNA. So ATGC. Don't ask me what they're abbreviations of, it's a chemistry term. But basically those 4 building blocks of DNA, representing data that way, and using them for computation. Which is in and of itself highly theoretical. There are a lot of, while I was doing research, there were a lot of papers
こ
that
れなら簡単簡単。
were taking a lot of work, basically, to
どれを使おう。
emulate what a computer right now can do. Which, what's it called? Boolean functions are a challenge when you're looking at DNA, because the logical gates that make up a majority of how standard silicon chips operate is that you have your and or and nots. And or and not gates are kind of your basic gates. And, well, okay, so there's a whole truth table for it, but basically and is x and y, or is x or y, not is not x, self-explanatory. But trying to kind of mimic those qualities using DNA is a bit of a challenge, since since everything is represented as a strand of DNA, you're basically trying to detect the presence of a particular strand, right? Which is a chemical process rather than an electrical process that computers use. You can't just read, is there a signal or is there not a signal? You have to kind of look at it. You need some chemical reaction with a determinate result to figure out if something does indeed exist. Which, and in OR gates, it looks like have been created. I've seen them created in articles. The NOT gate is a little bit more challenging, since by the nature of a NOT gate, if you have input, you invert it to have no output. If you have no input, you invert it to have output. So detecting the absence of an input is a bit challenging when everything relies on a chemical reaction. You know? It's like, you can't combine... Well, I guess you could combine nothing with something and try and get something out of it, but it's a whole process. I've written a whole paper about it. I'm not opening up that paper again. That thing took me the entire Thanksgiving break to finish. But yeah, it is very interesting when you look at, because DNA computing is still currently one of the theorized alternatives to silicon chips, because, well, silicon chips are getting really small, like really small. I think the plant in Taiwan that makes the highest grade silicon chips, they've made one that was 2 nanometers. And like the dimensions are 2 nanometer transistors, which obviously is smaller than we can see visibly. But when you're working with something like silicon, you're kind of limited, for obvious reasons, by the size of the silicon atom. So if we keep going small, then we're going to hit that limit where we physically can't go back. 2 nanometer. It's crazy. It's not commercially available yet, but I think it has been found that they've created it. I think 3 nanometers is about as small as you could purchase right about now. But yeah, it's insane. And we are very, very quickly reaching our theoretical limit for how much smaller we can make it, especially before things start getting quantum and everything starts messing up. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is new.
私と同じくらいの年かな。すごい。もうちょっと近くで見たい。ちょっと押さないで。以上です。ありがとうございました。
おおすごかったぞ姉ちゃん。
もっとやって。
アンコールアンコール。
ごめんなさい。
あ、逃げた。
So the theoretical limit is making a computer chip on a single atom. I mean, honestly, if you were to ask me whether that's possible, I wouldn't know the answer to that. Because just the thought of making a chip that is the size of one atom seems a little absurd, absurd. But seeing kind of how absurd it has already gone, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody finds a way. Because the thing about the silicon is that they put little tiny grooves into them and whatnot. It's been a while since I've read the article of like the exact limit, but I think even before you hit one atom, you start having other issues of like your values start becoming a little bit more variable. It becomes difficult to have a deterministic value at such a small size. Just like I said, things getting quantum at such a small scale. I will say, if somebody does happen to make a chip the size of a single atom, I'm sure they'll get a Nobel Prize or something, because that that would be kind of crazy. Which, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be the TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Center, because, like I said, they're literally at the forefront of superconductor technology, and they make the best.
しょうがないな。次も楽しみにしてるぞ。
Though, of course, them being placed in Taiwan does kind of put them in a little bit of an awkward spot.
思いっきり踏まれた。あれ、人形劇もう終わっちゃった。もっと見たかったのに。あれはお財布？もしかしてあの子のかな。どうしよう。
Why is everybody forgetting their wallets? Oh. Oh, I got an achievement. Puppet show begins. I'm sure she'll be around. Alright, so... where was I? Oh, I remember when I was doing the research for that paper. One of the things that we had to describe was... yeah, obviously a lot of these implementations are theoretical, but what are the practical things that have already been done with these processes like quantum or DNA? And one of the things that DNA computing just happened to be really good at was non-deterministic polynomial time problems. Basically NP-complete problems, where there is no known polynomial time that you could solve these problems. One of them being the traveling salesman problem, where you, what is it? You try to reach every city, like given a graph of cities and roads to the city, between cities, actually getting to each city only once, and I think in some cases it's also returning back to the origin without going over the same road too many times, basically, or like, so basically to remove all inefficiency in moving between these cities, which again, it's non-deterministic polynomial time. It is very challenging to try and solve by hand, especially when you start getting into, like, I think it goes up by like a whole factorial of time complexity, like if you just double the amount of cities. But one of the first instances where we see DNA computing was actually solving this problem. It's a bit complicated how it was done, and it's a lot of chemistry, but basically the guy who did it associated every single city and path. It's like, so for two cities and a path between them, that's represented as a single DNA string. And with that, there are a whole lot of reactions that have to be done that eventually,
これくらい
yeah. So you would do that for every single path, and you would just use all these different processes to filter out the strands that don't meet the requirements for the path. Which, in this particular example, he didn't exactly solve traveling salesman. He solved Hamiltonian path, which is kind of similar. But regardless, just using a bunch of different processes, he removes all of the strands that say created a path that wasn't n distance long. Wow, chemistry over electricity is actually a surprisingly interesting topic. It is when you think about what is it? It's like a single gram of DNA can hold like what is like a couple hundred terabytes worth of data, you know, in terms of like encoded in its DNA strands. Just a single gram. So even if it's not used necessarily for complex computing, like, because parallelism is kind of its main pull, where since everything is kind of, well, bacteria, so to speak, it's all DNA, you can simulate a lot of reactions very quickly. But even if you can't do that, per se, they still could try implementing it as a storage, as a methodology for storing data, right? Because again, it can store a ridiculous amount of memory in ways that our transistors just can't do without hitting a certain size. Because I'm sure you've probably seen how large like a terabyte hard drive would be. I'm sure it's a lot smaller now, but just imagine a single gram of just like raw DNA just has hundreds of terabytes of encodable space. So some people have, well, because the process of having a computer that is, you know, a normal computer as we know it, and having DNA storage is you have to create the encoding between them. But if you can do that, and it's fast enough, then storage can just go through the roof. Like, literally. Oh, I got a lot of these done now. Oh yeah, I got all the stamps. Yeah, really interesting. But the thing is, especially with the... I wonder who comes up with these things, like using DNA for storing data. I mean, probably the same... If I had to guess, it's probably the same people that complain about how much information DNA stores. Because, say, if you're working with DNA, trying to unravel just a single string of DNA is like an absolute pain in the butt. It takes forever because there's so many characters, so to speak, that make up a strand of DNA. Just a single bit of DNA. They probably looked at that. It's like, why the heck does this DNA stuff store so much data? Because, you know, it really is just data. Even when you look at DNA in its base form, it's the data of living things. It's basically stores how our bodies are made, how basically everything works and looks like, and all of that stuff. So we consider what a human looks like, and how, like, just that little, I say little, it's still like, well, like the human DNA is still enough to go to like the moon and back like some number of times. But all of that, all in that little tiny, almost invisible structure. I'm sure somebody saw that and was like, dang, that's a lot of storage. which
では引き継
which a lot of these things just come up as random coincidences that turn out to be, well, kind of insane.
納品する
But yeah, the things we come up with. Which I'm sure, you know, there are probably plenty of other things that people have come up with to kind of increase the power of our computing. That's one of the main things, is just that our computers are already really fast,
何を作ろうかな。
we just can't help making them faster. Because there is this property known as Moore's Law, where what was it? Semiconductor technology doubles in performance every, what is it? It's like every 2 years? Every, what is it? It's been a while. Hold on, let me actually look it up. Moore's Law. Yeah, every 2 years, the integrated circuit gets doubles. So, the transistors that make up the chip, the amount you can fit on a chip theoretically doubles every 2 years. And funny thing is,
これなら簡単
that the theory has held since he has made it, which is kind of wild. How somehow every 2 years we find a way to fit twice as many transistors on
どれを使おう。
smaller and smaller chips. But again, as we're hitting kind of close to the theoretical limit of how small we can make these chips, it probably stands that Moore's Law is probably going to die eventually, but scientists have been predicting that Moore's Law is going to die like literally every single year since it was created. Same thing is true with astronomy, we just can't stop trying to learn more and make bigger or smaller and better things. Hey, I mean, look at that nice juicy red planet that's like really far away. That's prime real estate. Which, it's also kind of fun when you look at the like how astronomy kind of ended up where it is. Obviously, I don't know the exact history of it, but I do remember what's it called? Somebody who really would have liked a computer back in the day was Kepler, where he would basically go up to the same hill like every day and track the positions of like every celestial body he could find, I think, or something like that. And after like several years, he just amassed this whole load of data, and you know, without anything to do the computation for him,
これでいいよね。
he created a lot of the, I guess, equations is probably the accurate term here, and he just figured those out by hand, just with like 3 years worth of astronomical data, just ran with it.
それじゃあ調合するよ。
Which I haven't looked much in astronomy. It's just something that gets mentioned when you take physics enough.
どの特性をつけようかな。
Because I had to take 2 courses of physics, and one was heat and mechanics, so which is, I want to say, similar to high school physics, like AP physics in high school, but it is a little bit more challenging for obvious reasons.
何を作ろうかな。
And then the second course of physics that I had to take was electromagnetism. Yeah, electromagnetism. Where we basically do physics again, but at a really small scale. So obviously we look at things like magnets, the movements of atoms, because, you know, when you get that small, the movement of atoms is kind of where you eventually end up. Which, it's even kind of funny when you look at laws related to celestial bodies and how they move, where you can view an entire planet or a star, no matter how big it is. When you're doing physics with it, you can just make the assumption that it's as large as a dot. It's basically just a dot. Which makes math so much easier. Oh, there's more stuff.
自得だけどな。緊張して逃げ出して財布は落とすわ、おひねりはもらいそびれるわ。
でも落としたくて落としたわけじゃ。
当たり前だ。どこの世界に財布を落としたがるバカがいるんだよ。
もうあんまりいじめないの。レオネラもこれくらいで泣かない。ごめんなさい。この間ここで人形劇してた人ですよね。あれからずーっと探してたんですよ。これあなたのですよね。あら、リオネラのお財布。
わざわざ届けてくれたのか。なかなか感心な娘だな。
いやー、そんな。今人形が喋った？
It is kind of funny how it's taken us so long to get through the entire cast of characters, because when you look at the intro cutscene that plays when you first open the game, it shows like 8 or something characters that I assume are all playable, but so far we've only had like 4. And like the rest of them, there's no way of accessing the rest of them until it throws them at you like this, so it's always nice to get more characters that I will have to spend the in-game money to hire and go back to being broke.
あら、いけない。私ったら。
おいおい、そんじょそこらの人形と一緒にすんじゃねえよ。こう見えても俺様は。
知らない人の前で喋るの禁止よ。
あ、そういやそうだったな。でももう手遅れじゃねえの。
違う、その今のこの子たちじゃ、だからすごーい。喋る人形なんて初めて見た。あ、私ロロナっていうの。あなたたちの名前は？あ、これはどうもご丁寧に。私はアラーニャ。よろしくね。
俺様はホロホロだ。覚えやすくていい名前だろ。
じゃあホロくんとラニャちゃんだね。よろしく。ほら、ぼーっとしてないで、あなたも挨拶なさい。あ、はい、リオネラです。私たち人形劇をしながらいろんな国を見て回ってるの。
いわゆる旅芸人ってやつだな。いつまでこの国にいるかはわからねえけど、しばらくの間よろしく頼むぜ。
へえ、そうなんだ。私はこの国で錬金術師をやってるの。 こちらこそよろしくね。っていけない、師匠のお使いの途中だったんだ。人形劇また見に来ますね。
なんだ、慌ただしい小娘だな。
でもいい子じゃない。なのにリオ狙ったら黙りこくっちゃって。ごめんなさい。
まあまあ、説教は後にしろよ。金も戻ってきたんだし、宿に戻ろうぜ。
そうね、リオネラもやっとご飯が食べられるわね。
There we go.
あの子、私たちのことを全然怖がらなかったわね。
ああ、なかなか肝の据わった小娘だぜ。ただ天然なだけかもしれねえが。
でもこれってもしかしたら。
そうだな。まあ、あんまり期待しすぎない方がいいかもしれねえけどよ。
Okay, well, I was gonna turn this stuff in, but honestly, it's really late. I've had classes on, like, kind of on and off since, what, like 8:30 this morning, all the way up until like 7 p.m. So, I'm very tired. Which I'm kind of getting a schedule running here with streams, kind of. Me and a friend stream Terraria on Sundays in the evening, which those are always fun. Most of the streams I've kind of compressed as videos for kind of easier viewing. And then, what's today? Well, it's now Wednesday, but normally on Tuesday. And I guess I can do this, which I have classes throughout the week, and I'll probably just do more lectures every time I come back to this game. Because, oh, I'm sure I'll be inundated with just way too much content from my classes. Those are all really hard classes. But, you know, teaching is, you know, one of the easiest ways of learn, or one of the fastest ways to learn. Well, thanks for all the info, yeah. Feel free to come back next Tuesday for what I inevitably end up having to learn throughout the week. It only gets more interesting from here, and by more interesting, more difficult to follow. I'll probably also do something on Thursday, which Supreme Darkness releases for if you know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'll probably do like online Yu-Gi-Oh! On like Thursday or something, if I feel like it. Alright, have fun. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will be around.